Hi, I'm Selig. I'm 26 years old and I'm working in a creative studio called Tofu right now. How I got introduced to design was when I was actually studying my diploma. So in our first year, we touched on design and a little bit of branding and layout. So that's actually what got me interested in design. And later on, we moved to like photography and like exploring just different forms of design. And I mean, that was actually the start of my interest in design. I mean, in the field of design, my passion lies within print and publication and photography. But I don't think that's what entirely guides you through your work. Like, there are many other things that you can do besides your passion in design. Yeah. Well, I'm the sort of the designer who tends to work backwards. So in a lot of my projects and a lot of the briefs that I take up, I always try to see the end goal. And I have to admit that that can be quite limiting because a lot of the times, especially like during my time in the cell, the lecturers tried to get us to explore more options. So while that can be quite limiting on one side, but on the other hand, I feel like that can also be one way of designing because it keeps you on track. Like, you always know what you want to produce at the end. So whatever you are doing is actually to reach that goal. If you were to ask me like what projects I would actually look forward to work on, I think it will be more of a holistic project rather than just say designing a poster or like a very small portion. I would want to be able to encompass all different forms of design. Like, maybe you create a brand and then you create a website. That's just one part. But I mean, you can create a whole image, especially like with space or like with products. So I guess like the project that I'm most interested in is actually a more wholesome project. I'm currently a creative. When I applied for that job, I thought it was like a graphic designer role, but I realized that they call their designers creatives. I do basically everything that needs to be done, and which is like maybe comping of images and like coming up with ideas for campaigns, layouts, and even like FAs, like final artwork, so like packaging the file for clients. In a way, yes, but I didn't really have any or that much expectations when I was in school, and I'll admit that it's quite different. I didn't expect myself to be doing. It's still along the same lines. Like I wanted to work in a studio. I didn't want to work in an agency or a big MNC or a big firm. So I managed to accomplish that. But right now I'm doing work that's quite ad-based. I wouldn't say that I hate the work there, but obviously I would enjoy doing a different sort of design work like print or like branding. Yeah. I think the standard answer would be passion, right? Like a lot of people would say passion. But I think realistically speaking, while graphic design can be a passion, I think as much as it's a passion for me, it's still like any other job. I treat it as like any other job, and it's what feeds me. It's just that obviously like comparing it to a more desk-bound job, like, or a more suit and tie kind of job, it's something that interests me more. But obviously the pay is a huge difference lah. Yeah, like you don't get that much money. What I'm worried about is actually not being able to support myself. Like right now, I am still getting by. But in 5 years, like if I'm still at where I am, I think like money would be a huge concern for me to support myself and maybe like a family in the future. I suppose the passion will always be there, like depending on how you keep doing it and how you actually like do other things on the side. But I think creativity is one bit, and it can be quite challenging to keep being creative because it's very easy for you to fall back on what you've always been doing and like to keep reusing similar concepts or similar art direction. Well, I think I became a lot more pessimistic after working. Like like you hope to get into this place, this studio, and you hope to be doing a certain sort of work, but then you realize that a lot of the things that you do is because like you have to do it and it's what the client wants. A lot of it is not so much about what you want to do, but what the client wants you to do. That kind of drain and eat away at you. As for me, like the work that I'm doing now, it's a lot of campaigns and it's very, very ad based. So whenever they said like, oh, like come up with a campaign idea, for my first brief when I first joined the studio, I had a totally different mindset. But after the first pitch and like the comments that I got back, even from my boss, you sort of get the idea of what kind of style and what kind of ideas and concepts that the client would like. So it kind of like limits you already, and then that's what I feel like can be quite negative about working in an industry versus like being a student. But then again, there is the whole balance between these two areas, because when you're a student, you find that you're limited with your resources. But when you go out into the working world, I think like you find that you're actually limited with your creativity. So that's the gap between these two, I think. I think a lot of times, like especially when you apply for a job, you have to lower your expectations. You can't be thinking that that's special, because actually like you're not really that much different from everyone else. I think it all boils down to what can you, with regards to job search, I think like what can you offer that place as compared to someone else. Just be realistic and know that like what you have will not be so different from what someone else has.